Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop. I am Gav. This is Matt, and we are here to do the weekend rewind. This is a show that's open for everybody to watch, but only members can comment. So that's how this one works. By being a member, that's what happens. We've just seen Bournemouth against West Ham finish 1-1 with 41 shots on goal between the two of them, which was just incredible.
Wow.
Fair play. But that's finished. But there's been loads going on in the Premier League over the weekend, and we will go through a few of them. Liverpool-wise, look, Matt and Kev and Ashley covered off the post-match reaction. Myself and Keith done a little bit more on it last night. We might touch on it a little bit throughout the show, but this one's all about all of the weekend and sometimes how it affects Liverpool and stuff like that. But I want to start with the people you called last week bad champions. And if ever you've been proven right, I think, definitely proven right, it's now, because Matt, they go into that game yesterday. You look at all the players they have on the pitch. They're missing Rodri. Okay? Everyone knows they're missing Rodri. They go in there against the Manchester United side that have been very average under Amorim so far, I think. Won some games they expected to. Haven't really done stuff in games that they haven't, that they weren't expected to. It's been very much a learning curve for Ruben Amorim, I suppose. And, that's the way it was. And going into yesterday thinking this is a perfect opportunity for City to put all these players on the pitch, take advantage of a United side that are kind of still finding their way under a new manager. And they're 1-0 up with 5 minutes to go. Is it 5 minutes to go? They give away whatever it was. They give it away a ridiculous penalty, and then they let a ball travel that distance, and they lose the game. And I'm going to ask you, how much more does this go on for before Pep Guardiola goes, look, enough's enough? Because for the record, I don't believe that 2-year extension is worth the fucking paper it's written on.
No, and you said that at the time. You said that at the time that you didn't think that him signing that extension meant that he was actually going to be there for another 2 years. It's more of an ass-covering exercise, a kind of get-out-of-jail-free card where he can hold his hands up when hopefully they're found guilty and have the book thrown at him. He can go, I thought we were totally innocent, or else I wouldn't have signed that contract extension. But I don't know if it was on a show with you or on one of the post-match shows. I said he's got to be looking at what Jurgen Klopp did last year around about this time and being like, I wouldn't mind me a little bit of that, because he looks tired. He looks like everything around that team just looks rotten. And the best part about it, because I will never miss an opportunity to revel in their being terrible, because they're cheats and I don't recognize them. So this is, as bad as it is, I almost brought down a little shot of mouthwash with me for having to be happy that Manchester United won at anything, just so I could wash that taste out of my mouth. But for the first 85 minutes of that game, it was like, this is the perfect time for City to get back on the horse. Like, leave it up to Manchester United to be the team that allows Man City to get their confidence back, get their feet back underneath them again, because United were pretty dismal in that game. And so for as bad as Man City was in that game, they still looked like they were going to comfortably come out with that victory. And then maybe that could be the thing that turns the corner. And instead, it goes as pear-shaped as anything could possibly go, and they throw it away in a spectacular fashion. And any other manager, and I think he's sacked. I think any other manager, with the exception of Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, I think those are the only two managers in the last 10 years that could get away with a run like this, because this is now past how bad our run was in 2021 when we were the bad champions. And that's why I said it's time for it to start coming out and being paraded around. Yeah, you won 4 leagues in a row. Yeah, you won a treble. Yeah, you got 130 charges hanging over your head. But guess what? You might be the worst champions.
Well, like Steve says there, can't call City bad champions when they've won 4 in a row. That's nuts. But you see, you're missing the point here, Steve. When Liverpool won a title, and they win a title, they win to a new season, they lose centre backs, they're playing all these different combinations at the back. People were like, don't care. They're just bad champions. They're bad defending champions. They should be able to do more than this and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, like, if you take away all the stuff around Man City, they have won 4 in a row, and on the pitch they've been brilliant. But you're only as good as your last win. And their last win, trophy-wise, was the end of last season. And since then, they are, as champions, putting up a horrendous fucking defence of their title. Okay? And people will go on like saying, oh, well, the charge is over them. Who could they sign? That's no one else's fault. That's no one else's fault. If they had if they had all their centre halves missing, you go, you know what, it's fucking hard. They've all their centre halves missing. But they're literally pointing at Rodri week on week. And the thing about it is that for me, it's a refusal to change. It's a refusal to adapt. You know, and they don't want to sit back. They don't want to hit teams on the break. They don't want to curb anything they're doing. But when I'm watching them, I'm kind of going, they are not doing. They're trying to do what they always done, but they aren't even doing it at 60% of what they used to do. Yeah. They just aren't doing it at 60% of what they used to do. And teams are able to either take advantage of them or hang in games. And that's exactly what United done yesterday. Because if you look at United yesterday, they have a similar amount of passes in the game. Okay? They have a similar amount of shots, if I remember rightly. But when you're looking at the game, you're kind of going, United aren't showing a hell of a lot of threat here. Like, even the first half was just non-existent for United in terms of threat. But once United got a little sniff of anything, Højlund goes down in the box and you're kind of going, that could be a penalty actually. And then from there, United are like, Jesus, we can stay in this and threaten. You know, Fernandes has the chance that he clips it over Ederson and it goes just wide. Then the penalty is just mad. You know, Ahmed is brilliant for it. Goes in the box and then waits for Núñez to come back and absolutely wins it. And you know what I mean? That's professional football. You do that. But the last goal, to be so high with no pressure on the ball and a guy to run from one side of the pitch to the other and the fullback not to follow him, the centre-back not to drop off, the right-back not to see it. Nobody sees it. And he runs in, he gets a brilliant touch over the keeper. It's a valid attempt of putting it on target. But the defender should just stand still. And he just controls it and brings it out of the box. But he nearly runs past it. And when I'm watching City, I think you're right. I don't think Mikel Arteta survives a run like that. I don't think Maresca at Chelsea survives a run like that. I don't think Eddie Howe survives a run like that. I think Ange Postecoglou, a good win yesterday, but he's on a run where people are really starting to question. There's no way he survives a run like that. And
do you think Arne Slot would have survived?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. Like
now, maybe in your fourth season, you know, it's one of those where you just hit the buffers and you know things have gone wrong. But this is. I think you're right. I don't think there's any other manager in the league. And maybe, look, he's built up a massive amount of credit in the bank for what he's done.
More than any manager, with the exception of Sir Alex Ferguson, probably.
Yeah, and then you have the whole contract situation on top of it. They've signed the contract, which, again, I don't believe is worth the paper it's written on. But, yeah, I don't think another manager survives this. How big is it for United, though? Because, you know, they edge past Bodo Glimt in Europe. They get a draw during the week when they weren't great. They lose at home to Forest. They draw away to Ipswich. They beat Everton well. I'm trying to think of other results. They lose away.
They drew Pilsen.
Yeah, they drew that during the week, didn't they? Then they lose away at Arsenal. So it's been a mixed bag for Amorim, but he is definitely trying to change the way they're playing. Couple of things on them. How big is that result, or is it just one of those where they've caught United at the right time? But how big is the decision that he leaves Garnacho and Rashford out of the squad and quite clearly says, these guys trained this morning, they're fit, there's nothing wrong with them, they're just not in this squad? That's a big show from him, but he backed it up.
Yeah, it's the first one. Only time will tell, I think, with that. You know, if they go out and have another two drab performances, then you can say it was, you know, I got the narrative around here somewhere, you know, they caught City at exactly the right time, sort of thing. The second one, though, I think that's the part that Amorim's been the most impressive to me on, is he seems to have whittled down, kind of like Maresca did at Chelsea, but with a lot more players. He seems to have whittled down who he thinks is going to work for him, and he's going to go with them. And the biggest beneficiary of that has to be Amad Diallo. Like, I'm not going to get carried away with it. I'll let the fan of their own team get carried away with overhyping a youngster. We were, you know, having a chat on Telegram this morning about Stefan Bajcetic and how Liverpool fans probably got a little carried away with just how good he could possibly be. United fans do that. Everybody does that. He's now the flavor of the month. Like, it was Alejandro Garnacho after last season where he was going to be the next, you know, world beater winger for Manchester United. And now like that Toy Story meme where, you toss the one toy to the side and you got a new toy and it's Amad Diallo. But he's looking phenomenal. I mean, he's absolutely at the center of both the goals to get United the win against City. Was that yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. But the decisions of Amorim to say, you know, these are the guys that I'm going to go with, and I don't know if I can trust. Like the fact that he was bringing Anthony off of the bench instead of bringing Marcus Rashford off the bench, or instead of bringing Alejandro Garnacho off the bench, that's a massive thing because there's no way Anthony is going to be in the plans of Manchester United going forward. Unless he has some miraculous career renaissance, he is done as Manchester United player, and he's going to have to reboot his career somewhere else after taking a massive step down.
Unless he turns into a miraculous number 10 that can play off a front man. Because it's clear what they're doing. They're playing 3 centre halves. They're playing 2 wing backs. Okay, they say it's a 3-4-3, but to me it's a 5-2-2-1. Really, they play 2 in midfield. They play 2 ahead of that in like a box, and then they've 1 up front. And unless Anthony can find a spot in there where he can play alongside like a Bruno Fernandes, I think you're right. I think an out-and-out winger just hasn't got a spot in Manchester United. I think, and
he's never going to be a wing back. He's
no. And like if you look at Garnacho and you look at Rashford, you're probably saying those two, could they play as a number 10? They probably could. Could you put Bruno Fernandes in beside Ugarte? And they've actually, the way his system works, I don't think the players work for him, but I think in what they are. But positionally wise, I think it gives him more stability in there where he can go with, whether it's a Ugarte and a Mainu or a Casemiro, and he can probably put 2 even slightly defensive ones ahead of that. And he can say, right, our wing backs and our striker. There's much more of a solid look to them. But Emmett says there rumours that Rashford and Garnacho were out at a nightclub on Saturday night. That's not the rumour I heard. The rumour I heard is that Garnacho was the one being leaking the team to everybody way before it comes out, and that's being found out at Manchester United, and for that reason he's not in the squad. Rashford, it's quite obvious Amorim didn't he go away, head off to New York or something in the international break?
He loves popping over to watch a basketball game.
Yeah, and I don't think he was wildly impressed by that. And listen, that's what he needs to do. That's what he needs to do. He needs to look and go, I really don't give a fuck who you are, right? If you, A, don't play the way I want to play, or B, you don't carry yourself the way I want to carry yourself, you won't be in the team. And dare I say it, it's exactly what he needs. It's exactly what they need. Because, and sorry, the other thing is, play right, or you won't be in the side. End of story. So he's laid down some ground rules. It could have turned massively on him if they'd have lost that game 2 or 3-0 yesterday and missed a couple of chances where you go, oh, Garnacho or Rashford would have scored them. You know the way it usually goes. But to drop them, to stay in the game was admirable, I think. And then when he's seen City's weakness creeping in as the game went on, I'm not saying they piled it on City and came away. They took opportunities that City handed to them. That's what it is. The second goal's a good goal, but defensively it's all over the place, and the fourth goal is just fucking madness. But
I think also United got a stroke of luck in that game yesterday when Mason Mount goes off injured. I think making the change from Mount to Mainu, and Mainu all of a sudden seemed to have kind of the freedom of the park, and he was popping up all over the place, and he looked kind of like the Kobe Mainu that got called up to the England squad after last season, and he's kind of been off the boil this year. A lot of the players that had really good kind of breakout seasons last season have seemed to kind of fallen off the boil a tiny little bit, with maybe Cole Palmer accepted. But I felt that Mainu came in and all of a sudden he was all over the place because he had the running power and the willingness to do the work in the middle of the park that Manchester City does not have. They just do not have. So yeah, it very well could be a turning point, but at the same time, I don't think the players that United have in defense are going to be good enough for this season to not be a pretty painful one at the end of it. I doubt they're going to finish in 13th, which it seems like they've been kind of glued to 13th in the table. Yeah, they've been
glued to 13th for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 3 managers have
but I think it's only 6 points off fourth, though, is it? Or 8 points off fourth or something?
So, like, if United finish the season in 6th or 8th or something like that, it won't be a good season by Manchester United standards, but I think the turnaround will be enough that it'll be able to be spun as a positive by their fans, and that's down to Amorim. But whether there's enough available, because not just was the playing staff and the coaching staff, the management side of things is also a disaster at Manchester United, and it's left them with massive amounts of debt and kind of up against a bit of a PSR wall. And I don't know what kind of wiggle room they get because of the new ownership. I wouldn't imagine because he's not the majority owner, I don't think, is he?
No.
Like the weird handover, they might not be able to do that. Well, you've got a new owner, so you can splash a little bit more cash than you'd otherwise be able to. So I don't know if there's enough available for Amorim and the scouting team at Manchester United to make the level of changes that they need to make in that team, because the defenders that are there are just not great. And they're going to need to be improved on. But I don't know how you get rid of players like Marcus Rashford on 4 years left on £325,000 a week.
Well, that's the thing. Gavin Walsh is there. Rashford's transfer in the summer will be used to get that striker from Sporting. Gyökeres is who you're talking about, who's been scoring all around him for Amorim. The problem United have, and this is not me saying this because I just don't like them, it's actually United fans have been telling me, is that they are nailed up against the PSR wall. And the problem with Rashford is that Saudi Arabia may pay his 325 grand a week, okay? But he's 4 years left. And as much money as they have, if they've any clever about them, they just go in and go, listen, you want rid of him. Nobody's going to pay him that money. But we will if you give him to him for 10 million quid. And you take your licks. Or he sits there and he's a fucking rotten apple amongst that group that you'll find hard to get away from. And remember, he's come through all the ranks at United. It's not like a guy that's come in from another country and he's a bit of a bad apple. You throw him in with the reserves or train on his own and like people forget about him. The fact that Marcus Rashford has come right through the ranks at Manchester United, he's seen as one of the local heroes of Manchester United. Or, well, I use the word hero fucking loosely. But do you know what I'm saying? It's much harder to keep the attention off of him than it would be to a guy that's come in 2 years ago from Serie A and, a bit like Donny van der Beek, disappeared and people forgot about him when he went to Girona for fucking 150 grand or whatever it was. And that's the and you think that Amorim would go, I need all these players because I haven't got any wiggle room here with regards to transfers. And you think he'd kind of, tolerate them, but he's not. And I like it. I have to say, I do like it. He could have left them out and made a little excuse here or there, but he just went, no, they trained this morning, they're fit, they're just not in the squad. And you're like, yeah okay. That sort of way.
The sort of stuff that he would do with Jadon Sancho, or what Ten Hag would do with Jadon Sancho, and Sancho would be like, no, I'm not. I'm fine. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Like he's not trying to play mind games and stuff like that. He's
exactly.
Just coming out
Whereas, the thing with Ten Hag was, with Jadon Sancho was that was an internal row between the both of them. Okay? And he started throwing accusations out against him. Okay? Now, that was wrong, in my opinion. Okay? Because for the sake of the club, he should have said, listen, I'm just going to tell them you have a knock, and let's sort this out in the meantime. But obviously Amorim has a problem here, and he's just said, no, they're not in the squad. And you see, the thing was, it was leaked all across the press. So if he comes out and says, oh, they have a bit of a niggle, well, that's not what we heard. But with the Sancho stuff, it was like, what's going on with Sancho? And he could have said anything he wanted, but he didn't. He chose to go down that road. Owen Burke says United apparently want to get Bruno off the wage bill. You see, this is the problem they're going to have. And anyone looking for their players will know that they're going to struggle. But you never know. They might go and sign Gyökeres. I think it's a £60 million buyout. They might find the money there from. But that's a big outlay if you're up against the PSR wall. One player, is that one player going to do it for you? I don't think the forwards are the issue at Manchester United. I think there's much more than Gyökeres, but I have a feeling Gyökeres will end up at Barcelona. I think he might be the heir to Lewandowski, but that's where I am on it. Couple of seconds.
Yeah, I was about to say the bottom of the table was almost as exciting as the top of the table this weekend.
Yeah, so you have Gary O'Neill at Wolves. They get beaten. Well done Ipswich, who weren't letting in goals late this week. They were scoring them. So that's a massive.
That's a big win for Ipswich.
A huge win for Ipswich. But they get the win at Wolves. There's all sorts of messing going on after the game on the pitch. Gary O'Neill gets sacked. And then Russell Martin at Southampton are 5-0 down at half time to Spurs. They managed to keep it to 5. Fair play to them. And he gets the sack. And I think it's the most obvious sacking. I can't believe he's lasted this long at Southampton, to be fair. The Gary O'Neill one, people will point to, they've been robbed on VAR and stuff, but he still persisted to go out and play a way that just didn't suit them. And the result showed.
Yeah, I mean, both of these managers are probably lucky to still be at their teams after 16 games of the season. Like, both of them probably should have been, in retrospect, gotten rid of earlier. How Lopetegui is going to be at worst, the fourth manager sacked this season is shocking. that he's managed to fall that far down the ranks in terms of first to be sacked sort of thing. But Southampton are. I had that game on at the same time as the Chelsea-Brentford game, and obviously your eye gets drawn to it when there's a goal every 30 seconds. And they're just not good enough. The way he had that team set up is just not good enough. And like you see players arguing with each other after the ball goes in and stuff like that. I think it was Bednarek was just absolutely tearing a strip off of somebody after the second or third or seventh goal, whatever it was. And Spurs didn't look like they were trying at all in the second half. It was real shades of when we had a 4-0, 5-0 lead at Old Trafford after whatever it was, 60 minutes, and just went, we're good with this. We'll just hold on to this. It's suicidal from them, and I think it's already past the point. I think it's already past the point of no return. I don't think there's any chance Southampton could stay up from this point. I would imagine the statistics would probably show that no team with 5 points after 16 games has ever stayed up.
No. I would highly doubt it. There's no way after 16 games 5 points keeps you up. But where do you feel these two teams go? Because Wolves will feel they're still in with a sniff here, because of the players they have and Premier League experience and stuff like that. Southampton feel to me like you need to start planning for next season in the Championship. Who do you get that you can bring in the Championship, use the parachute money wisely, keep the squad together, whatever it might be, to bring you back up. Wolves might want to bring someone in to get that real bounce, and because let's be honest about it, they're 5 points off Everton or something like that. So it's not like they're miles behind. Five points feels like it's miles behind. 9 points doesn't. And that's just looking at both teams and the form they're on and the way they play. But where do Wolves and Southampton go with this? Like manager wise, who did he look at?
I mean, Southampton, it would have made more sense to me because of where they are and just how extraordinarily unlikely it is that they could survive from here, that they're definitely going to be playing in the Championship next season. I wouldn't have been surprised if their ownership came out and went, we're sticking with Russell Martin. The plan was always to go down this season. Not the plan was, but, we never expected to stay. We're on a 3-year plan. The sort of stuff that Burnley was saying last season with company, where they went, we got into the Premier League 2 years ahead of schedule. We're not expecting to be here, so we know we're going to take a few shit kickings, and it's fine. We're going to stick with the manager. We're going to stick with our players and continue building, go down into the Championship and pop back up again, and then be in a better place to stick it out.
Yeah.
It's an old nugget.
Like Sheffield United are trying to do.
Exactly. I would have been fine with Southampton coming out and saying, Russell Martin's our guy, not for this season, but for next season and the season after and the season after. Awesome. That's not how those clubs seem to work, though, unfortunately. Wolves, I think they need to find somebody that's going to switch them to 3 at the back again.
Yeah,
I think they got to go to 3 at the back.
Owen Burke and Emma are both mentioning Vitor Pereira here. That's supposedly rumoured replacement at Wolves. You see, my thing on this is
40 goals in 16 games. That's 2.5 goals a game. More than 2.5 goals a game. You cannot. Yeah. It's impossible.
Yeah, but my thing on this is that say Southampton go and look into the Championship, okay, and say they look at, let's say Mark Robbins. I think he's still at Coventry, right? Done a really good job. Nearly got them up last season, I think, or the season before maybe, and the season before actually. And you say to yourself, right, Mark Robbins, really good Championship manager, but might be interested in the step up. But the big risk for any of these managers is that they go in at Southampton and they've 5 points after 16 games. But after 26 games, they've 8 points. And you're like, this isn't working. And they just get rid of them. And then they've left a solid enough job in the Championship to be sacked from this Premier League team. And then have to go looking again for another solid enough job in the Championship. That's where it is for me with Southampton. With Wolves, like Madge Apple's saying there, Potter turned them down. Potter's name pops up every so often. I don't know what way they go. Like I seen rumours today that they're going to look at Espirito Santo to come back. And why would he?
Why would he ever leave?
He's having a great time. He's having a fucking great time. Cantor says I thought Robbins was sacked recently. Maybe he was. I don't pay an awful lot of attention. He's just a name that popped into my head from the Championship. But with Wolves, I think you have to get someone in the belief that you're going to stay up, not plan for the Championship, in the belief you're going to stay up. And you either do it 2 ways. One that keeps you up on like literally a 7-month contract, or one that's going to keep you up and, continue on, like, and progression. And I don't know what's out there for them. I really,
Yeah.
really don't. Like
I
Pep
certainly don't.
Linders.
I mean, the
Pep
only name
Linders
that
is
pops
being
to my mind.
sacked. But Pep Linders is
What?
being sacked at Red Bull Salzburg.
Yeah, go
Like,
grab him.
it would make perfect sense for Southampton to go and try get him.
Yeah.
I know he hasn't had the best of
Yeah,
times.
well,
He knows the Premier League. He's young. Maybe that's one where they say to him, listen, you probably went too quick, too high, too early. Why don't you come in here, see what you can do with the squad, assess it. We think we're going to go down. We probably know we're going to go down. And then in the Championship, you can do your business under the radar a little bit and see where you go. Maybe they. Oh yeah. Apparently Lampard is the Coventry manager now. That's something that just completely passed me by.
well, there's one to go and get. Go get Lampard. Like a name that pops to mind for Wolves. I mean, obviously David Moyes. Everybody's going to say David Moyes because he's the, I don't know, the heir apparent of the, Big Sam emergency manager signing that you get. But like somebody like Chris Wilder, that's used to playing with wing backs, like Eight Nuri.
Is Wilder at Sheffield United again?
I have no idea.
No,
I don't
he
pay
could
attention
be.
to the championship. Just go take whoever Leeds' manager is just to piss Joe off.
No, you
maybe.
see, you can't, because the problem with the Leeds manager is that he's a complete championship manager. It's what's his name? That is it. Fark? Is that his name?
Oh, Daniel Farker, really?
Yeah. So he came up. Remember, he came up with Norwich and then he went back
With
down.
Norwich,
I think he might come back and went back, and he's just a championship manager. And he's at Leeds now. He didn't get them through the playoffs. They're second in the league at the moment. There's a real chase on at the top of the championship. But for a fact, and I've said this to Joe Wayman, friend of the show. I've said to Joe, if you get promoted this season, the first thing you should do is sack that manager. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I'm fucking telling you, because you're only going to talk to me in mid-October going, he has to go, mate. And that's what's going to happen. Wilder is in a job. I think he's still at Sheffield United. Okay, lads, you're going to have to take a crash course in the Championship. Yeah, no. The only thing I like about the Championship is
too much football.
they play every 3 days. It's the crack, right? And there's a mad race to the fucking end. It's. I love it as a league, but interest in it, nah. But it's going to be very interesting to see what way these teams approach it. I don't think Southampton stand any chance, but Wolves will definitely look around them and think, maybe we can stay up here, but I'm not too sure who they're going to go for. But we'll see. I'm sure over the coming days and over the next 10 days anyway, you'll find out who they both bring in. Couple more things around the league. Arsenal draw at home to Everton. And when you look at this run of games that Everton, but when you look at this run of games that Everton we're going to have, like I remember saying last week, they can beat Wolves, and then there's an argument that Everton don't get a point till mid-January because of the players or the teams they're playing against, but they do really well to get a point at Arsenal there the other day, and they just went back to being solid, and it worked for them, and Arsenal got so fucking frustrated by it, but it's a good point for Everton. It's not a good point for Arsenal. And there's a few feel like they're turning at Arsenal. It feels like it's a bit... We talk about them being emotional and being on a knife edge all the time, but this feels a little bit different. This feels like one or two more dodgy results. And if Arsenal end up, 9, 10, 11, 12 points off the top, it feels like a good few are fucking will turn on Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, I get my dose of Arsenal fandom through their subreddit, where you check in after results happen and see how they feel, see what they're saying about Liverpool, see what they're saying about themselves. And there has been a noticeable increase in the amount of Mikel Arteta out sentiment amongst the Reddit-based Arsenal fans, like a massive increase in the last 3 weeks. And it's just the staleness of the way that they're playing. It seems like a lot of people are upset at what Mikel Arteta seems to have done to what should be flair, creative players playing in an attacking style, and it's reflected on how poor they are from open play, like how unthreatening that team seems to be unless they have a set piece. And it's all well and good to have a set piece in your back pocket, but it's your back pocket. It's not, it's not the thing that you're carrying in your hands all the time, which is playing from open play. The majority of the game is played in open play. And they went from being a team that seemed really exciting to the over pragmatism of Mikel Arteta because they were at that precipice where they were challenging for a title, and it seems like he's made these tactical adjustments to the team as the way to get over that hump to be winning a title instead of challenging for a title. And now it seems like they're challenging for top four again. And being back in that position of challenging for top four again and being happy with maybe an FA Cup run and getting back into the Champions League, I don't think Arsenal fans are going to have a lot of appetite for that because they're going to remember the years, the late years of Arsene Wenger of being told, hey, you made it into the Champions League again and blah, 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 blah. I don't think they're ready for that because they feel, probably rightly so, that their team should be winning the major silverware.
They should be winning this title.
Yeah.
That's honestly.
They really should. No, they really should.
And I'm not saying they won't. But right now, it feels to me like I said it the other night. I think he's turning him into the team that I never thought with that group of players I would see that style of football or that intent from them to get goals and wins. It just didn't come. Like okay, you have two good centre halves, but okay, and you're playing another two at the fullbacks. But like one of what you would think is a big threat from set pieces is Declan Rice, and he's taking the corners for you from one side of the pitch. The sort of way, and they've gone down this route where if you said to me, what way do you never think Arsenal will go and play? I go, they probably play percentages and look to win games off corners. Like it's just not with the sort of players they have, And look, I think they should be winning the title with the state City you're in, where Arsenal were last season, what they've added to their squad, where other clubs, i.e. Chelsea and Liverpool probably in particular, are. I think Arsenal should be absolutely winning this title, and I'm not for a second writing them out of it. But right now, they look like, when you think about it, City are going through one of the worst runs. I think it's in 18 years, and they're 3 points off Arsenal. That shouldn't be there. Like it shouldn't be. And while I look at Arsenal, I think Arsenal are capable of winning the next 6. And next thing, if Liverpool play their game in hand tomorrow, they'd be 9 points clear of Arsenal, right? They'd be 5 points clear of Chelsea. But Arsenal could go on a run easily of winning the next 6, and you go, Jesus, that 9 points is now down to 5. The sort of way, and there's just 15 games to go, or whatever it might be. But on the other side of it, I get the hint that Arsenal feel like with the teams that are around them, including Chelsea, including City, and one or two more that are starting to put still sitting hovering there, they could be dragged into a top 4 fucking scramble here. And I have a feeling you might see one team out of the top 4 this season where you go, well, I didn't expect that. And right now you probably look and say it's City. But I really have a feeling like at the start of the season we all thought Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, in whatever order you want. It'll be one spot down for the Champions League. But there might be I think one of these teams might drop 2 places more than you think, and next thing they're in 5th. Now I know 5th gets you to Champions League at the moment. It should get you to Champions League, and getting in the Champions League might be okay, but it's not really, is it, Matt?
I just don't think it is. I think that's a line that they've trotted out, and it's okay. Like I say, it's a line like it's a bad thing. It's okay to be in a period of transition where, like the early years of Jurgen Klopp, where it's like, okay, we did it. We had a cup run, didn't win the Europa League, but we're back in the Champions League. The revenue that creates, that's all well and good. But you can only do that for so long. And especially when you've got players like Saka, players like Odegaard, Rice, Saliba, Gabriel that are in their prime. Like, this is your window. You talk about, we're building, and then you have a window, and then you're rebuilding. They're in their fucking window. This is win now time. Like, if this is a North American sports that has a trade deadline, Arsenal is trading their draft picks and their prospects to beef up at the trade deadline because it's win now time.
Yeah.
And they need to have been 9 points clear of second place. If the league is shaping up, I don't know if you're familiar, there is a deserve to win-o-meter, Gav.
No. Hold on. XG is bad enough. Is there a deserve to win?
You will absolutely love this. It was sent to me. Hold on, I can get it up real quick. It was directly sent to me by Conrad Cowan on our Telegram here. It is so let's see if I can get the picture up here.
I'll go your way. Oh wow.
See, deserve to win a meter. So somebody took the XG and
which is
okay,
nonsense.
I'll read the description. It's great. There is no deserve in sports, only what happens. But if there were, this is a crude attempt to estimate it. This graphic takes the shots, XG, and post-shot XG, and possession value, non-shot XG, from each team and simulates the match 10,000 times to get the values of how often each team could have won the match with the same events, ignoring how game state and referee decisions could change events. And
Wow.
it has Arsenal deserve to win that 63% of the time.
Hold on.
It is
Can you just read? Can you just read the last bit again to me, where it
Oh,
says where it says not taking into consideration.
game state and referee decisions.
Okay,
Yes.
so basically, if Arsenal played that game 10,000 times with no referee, they deserve to win it 63% of the time.
63% of the time.
This is what we're in it for. This is absolutely what we're in it for.
It is hilarious. But the deserve to be O table really should be Arsenal with a 9-point lead over surprise second place team, Chelsea or Liverpool. That's where they should be, given the last couple of seasons and what they're building to, the amount of money that squad has spent poorly, but they've made the wrong transfers. Calafiori, fine player, not what Arsenal needed. Not what Arsenal needed. They needed to get a striker, but instead they've got Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus up top, and it's just not going to be enough for them. So they can be where they are. I don't think they'll finish below fourth. I think the top four is going to be us, Chelsea, City, and Arsenal still, though.
Yeah, I just think my thing on this is, and I'm not even not including Liverpool in this, is I think if one of those four, let's say, sometimes you see a break where you go, right, top four are nearly nailed there. There's 6 points between fourth and fifth, and there's 8 games to go. It should be fine. Boom, boom, boom. What I'm saying is, I think for different reasons, I think now I know fifth gets you Champions League at the moment, right? But even if fourth and fifth are close, I worry about a couple of these sides that if they fall down into this 4th/5th spot and you have a team around that have some sort of momentum, that it just, their heads are melted, and maybe the 5th spot is the saving grace for everyone for a few of the clubs this season. Dylan says, did anyone watch the AFTV clips from after Everton? A fella shouting he wants Martinelli in handcuffs had me in tears. They had to take one down because one of the main blokes said he'd shoot Arteta. Fucking hell. Holy fuck. Right.
So things are going good.
I should have read that before I read it out, but I've read it now.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
The issue I have with that, Gav, of Arsenal or City potentially dropping out of the top four. I mean, if fifth does get you the Champions League, then they'll almost certainly qualify. When I look at the other teams that are in and around there, like Notts Forest is in fourth, Bournemouth sixth, Villa, Fulham, Brighton, Spurs, Brentford, Newcastle, Man United down in 13th at 22 points. That's 6 points behind. So you're talking a 2-3 game swing for 13th to get enough points. I mean, everybody would have to lose, obviously, but 6 points between fourth and 13th. There's absolutely nothing in it. But when I look at those other teams there, I just don't see any of those teams. It might be Notts Forest. Consistently going out of my way to call them Notts Forest might come back to bite me, and they might be the team that goes the distance. Villa doesn't look like it. I don't think Bournemouth is that team either. Brighton, no. Spurs, definitely not.
I think Villa are the one, because I think Villa qualify. I think Villa qualify for the knockout to the Champions League, and then I think they get beaten in the last 16. And then I think they're free to run at the end of the season. And I think they're actually quite good, Villa. Dylan O'Rourke said, here's a mad stat. Grealish, 1 goal in his last 562 days in the Premier League. Firmino, 1 goal in his last 558 days in the Premier League. Firmino's last Premier League game was 558 days ago, which is phenomenal. I want to give a shout out to Crystal Palace. Everyone was kind of impressed with them at the back end of last season. And their manager came in and steadied them and were a real threat. But then there was like, these are fucking brutal. They're all over the place. But I've looked it up there. They lose at home to Fulham on the 9th of November, right? But since then, they have drawn away to Aston Villa. They've drawn at home to Newcastle. They've beat Ipswich. They've drawn at home to Man City. And they've gone to Brighton and won 3-1. So he's really steadied the ship there. That's a really big win for Crystal Palace there yesterday. A really good win. They only conceded a goal because Mark Guehi scores an own goal with a couple of minutes to go. But it just shows sometimes you just hang on to that manager and you just say, no, he's earned enough bank there from last season. Leave him for the moment. And he seems to have turned the corner with Palace, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's. I said it when I think it was Kev, Chris Ashley, and I do the preview show for the weekend about it, and we touched on the other games. I say it's huge because now you're starting to see not for 18th, but Wolves at 9 points, 5 points up to Leicester, and then all of a sudden Palace, who looked rooted to the bottom for the longest time, are sitting in 15th and are about kind of where you maybe expect them to be. If not, they could be a tiny bit higher from it. But the players in that team, I think, are just too good. I think they've got enough, especially Gahey at the back. Hilarious own goal yesterday because my wife, for some reason, had him captained in Fantasy Premier League. So she poked
by
her
the
head
way,
out.
I've completely forgotten about that fantasy league. I don't think I've changed my team since about week 6.
I'm doing great. I have almost no points. I have all of our opposition players on our team. I got rid of all my Liverpool players. I captain Holland every week. He's fucking dog shit. It's working great. I am loving fantasy this year. But they've got enough. They've got enough players at all the places. Like Tyreek Mitchell is a decent quality fullback. Will Hughes, the last couple games, so I've actually managed to catch the last couple of Palace games. Will Hughes has been playing out of his very, very white skin. He is so easy to see on the pitch. He's like a perfect create-your-own player. Just white hair, like a sore thumb no matter what uniforms are out on the pitch. But he's been like a dynamo in that midfield and just busting up play. He's looking absolutely phenomenal, and they're starting to click up top. I think they might have had a bit of a hiccup trying to get over the loss of Elise because he was so important for them last season.
Yeah.
Eze looked like he couldn't have cared less last week when they played. This week, starting to look a little bit more like the Ezra Busy Eze that, everybody was like,
I know.
I wouldn't mind a little bit of him. So.
Own book says that their new signs are starting to play better for Palace. It took them a while to get going. I did want to give them a mention. Ruud van Nistelrooy's bubble was burst away as Leicester bubble was burst away at Newcastle with a 4-0 defeat. Chelsea did get that win over Brentford. I didn't watch it, but I heard they were fairly dominant in the game, but they weren't outstanding. I think was kind of the feedback I got there. Martinez makes an unbelievable save for Villa the other day. I think they go up the other end and go 1-0 up and then manage to lose the game.
If there's a better save this season, I cannot wait to see it because that save, I was watching that live and was into the Telegram members chat.
It was like an illusion, wasn't it?
He's made the save of the season. It's unbelievable. The power on it to just dribble it straight down off the line and then bat it off the line. I think he's an absolute clown. He is everything Jordan Pickford thinks he is as a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He's an absolute shithouse jester. I despise having to play against him, but unlike Jordan Pickford, he's actually a really, really, really good goalie. Probably one of the 5 best in the entire world, and that save just epitomizes it. But yeah, the fact that they go down the other end and within, I think, 60 seconds, they got the ball in the back of the net, and it's like, that's what you pay for. But that's a big loss for Villa. I think they really needed that win, and Forest just keep on trucking with it. Villa look like they're running out of steam. They just look like they're running out of steam.
Villa to me, and I've just said there, I think they could be. I think they need to get through this Christmas period in some sort of decent shape. They're well in the Champions League there, but I think their additions. We talked about last season going to Champions League. They're going to need a bigger squad, and I'm not too sure how much bigger it is, or if it is, are these extra additions making massive, difference to them? But Villa feel to me like a team that that was a great adventure in the Champions League. We'd really love that again. We're out of it now, in whatever it is, mid-February, and let's push on for the last 10, 12 league games and see where we can go. And I just think with what's going on around them, what's going on around them might just, and it might not be them, it could be Forest, it could be anyone. I just think there will be one team that'll find the momentum. It could be United. You don't know. It could be Newcastle. Spurs could pick up. There's plenty of argument for any of those, but I think it's usually only one that just goes bum and they go off on a run and puts them in. They usually win a great run, get in a great position, stumble a little bit, and manage to find their way near the end. And that Villa's just in my head for that reason.
The thing with Villa could be, sorry for interrupting, Gav, it could be Ollie Watkins learning how to score again. Because he has been off the boil. He's another one of those players that was phenomenal last season. and he's just not come up to the point where the David Fairclough of Aston Villa in 2024 is now starting games, and scored again. Like John Duran really seems like he's making himself almost undroppable with the amount of what's wrong with the telescope, Emmett?
What's wrong?
Skateboard. You can hurt yourself on a skateboard, Emmett. Telescope's good for you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Sorry, for people that don't know, Dylan's asked a question in the chat. What's the best or what's the worst present you've ever given or received? And Emmett says, I asked Santi for a skateboard one year and got a telescope instead. I was devastated. And Owen says, my ex got me a watch and a DVD player for Christmas that I never got. She said both of them broke and she had to bring them back. So there you go. There's one for you. I think we've covered nearly all the fixtures there. Anything else in the Premier League weekend that caught your eye before we go?
I think so. Yeah, no, there's not too much about that. I mean, I didn't get to see any of the game today, but steady the ship. Lopetegui probably survives until January now before he gets the bullet.
Yeah, I'd say so because he probably he's one game before he meets us, and I hope he stays there. Because I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking to myself, Liverpool have to go and beat Spurs. They have to beat Leicester. They have to beat West Ham. And then we go into the new year and we play United on the January the 5th, isn't it? It's going to be a really interesting period of these next 3 league games. And they're spread out more than they usually are, in fairness, 22nd, 26th, 29th and then the 5th. But usually where they used to be 22nd, 26th, 28th, the 30th and the 3rd, they just got as many as they could. But it's spread out a little bit more, so it's not too bad. Quick question before you go. It was from Dylan. It's from earlier. Dylan just loves asking questions. He says, question for Canadian Matt. Wiffle ball. A serious sport or a children's game? I don't even know what this is.
Wiffle ball, it's like baseball, but the bat is made out of plastic and the ball has holes in it and it's hollow plastic. So even if you hit it as hard as you want, it only goes about like 40 feet or something like that. I did answer him in the chat, but I will, because it does bear repeating. It is not a serious sport.
Of course not. A plastic bat with a ball with holes in it.
Oh, it's the same as fucking paddleball. Everybody's
it's an event. It's an event at a community games.
Exactly, and that's what I said. It's either a children's game or you're having a backyard barbecue and everybody's getting drunk and you want to play something that doesn't actually involve running around or actual physical activity.
But he said then, I remember a friend's dad tried to recruit us to his wiffle ball team. President of the Wiffle Ball Ireland Association, though I don't think that's true.
But the important part of that is somebody's dad, because that's what it is. It's like a 55-year-old dudes that are trying to get back into being sporty again, but their knees are shit and they don't have any wind. They can't run. So they come up with games like, oh, I could play tennis, but tennis is an actual sport that requires like you to be an athlete. Well, what about if we make everything super light so you can't hit it hard or fast, and then I can do it when I'm at a retirement community? That's all it is. That's all it is. It's like Frisbee golf, Gav. It's like Frisbee golf.
No, Dylan backs it up. He backs it up. He backs it up and he says, a friend of mine's dad was the president of the Wiffle Ball Ireland and used to try to recruit us to his team. Never really hit the target audience. Wow. And sorry, Gavin Walsh asks, are Chelsea contenders? If Liverpool are contenders, Chelsea are.
Yeah.
And the league tells you that.
They're not going to be able to hide from that fucking anymore because by the time we play next, they'll be ahead of us in the table.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting first a week before Christmas, you can't not be considered to be in a title match.
Yeah, so, correct.
Yeah, they've been able to hide behind that for a while. And no. Rebuilding, it's not their window yet. Chelsea's building for their window to be in 2-3 years' time. But, well, guess what? Sometimes the fucking wind blows real hard and the window's open now. So
I don't even know who Chelsea have at the weekend. I don't even know if they have.
It might be Southampton, I think.
No, they didn't. They played them. They only played them recently, for fuck's sake. They can't be playing Southampton again.
Everybody's going to play Southampton. Who does Chelsea have? Let's see. Oh, Chelsea traveled to Goodison Park. That's why I thought it was a guarantee.
Hello, Nugget. Okay. Right, I think we're done. We've covered all the weekend's games. We've covered sackings. We've covered wiffle ball, bad presents, stuff like that, and all the fixtures. I think we've done really, really, really well. Hit like, subscribe, comment on this afterwards if you want. This, of course, was a member show where they can only comment, but everybody can watch. If you want to become a member, it's $3.99 a month, and you get stuff like this and other member shows as well as that. Thanks to Matt, thanks to me, thanks to everyone in the chat, thanks for everyone for liking and commenting and all that sort of messing. And we will talk to you again soon. Over and out.